I was in a total mess, when I first had my son, and my biggest fear that he was going to get taken off me.
Appreciate that you're able to share your experience to the world, and I'm sure you are helping thousands of people out there. But many people cannot really disclose what they're going through, and probably that's why we are not able to seek for help when we are going through mental health problems. And maybe because we don't want to feel that shame, we don't want to be judged, we don't want to, and again, the other side of people also who judge someone going through mental illness, calling them names like crazy and so on, or kind of separating them, exclude them from certain activities because they don't have confidence in them. So those things, I think the combination really makes us not seek for help when our mental health is going bad. So what do you think can be done really? Because most people don't disclose, and that's why they don't get help. But again, mental health, I think, should be sickness or illness like any other, like headache, like fever, like whatever. Why is it so difficult for us to seek for medical attention when we're really facing that problem?
The words that you hear when traditionally mental health, if we look maybe 40 years ago, not maybe even less time than that, if you had a mental health condition, you were labeled crazy and you were put in an asylum. Yeah, that's the reality. And in some places in the world, that's still the case.
Yeah.
So that's the battle we've got. In the 70s and the 80s, they closed all these hospitals in the UK, and they said people need to be in the community because actually they can live life not in a normal way, whatever normal is. It's a bit of bravery in terms of telling people, but it's also being careful who you tell. I've told the wrong people some stuff in my journey in the last 6 years. I've told the wrong people, and I've been talked about negatively. So it's being careful who you share with, and how much you share as well. So it's the right person and how you share what's going on in your head. But also, I think there's telephone line in the UK. Certainly, there's telephone lines that you can call, and there's also online services that you can chat to. So you can type in how you're feeling. And I think sometimes chatting to people that don't know you and is quite anonymous can sometimes be a good starting place for people.
Yeah, I think this is not very easy for some people because people don't want to be judged. They don't want their record having like they once had mental illness. They think if something happened, maybe they might even take their children away from them because they have no confidence in them. So mostly women, of course, and men, everybody can have it. Nobody's immune to that. But mostly parents don't feel like they can seek for that help. They think they're going to be judged if they seek for help. They think their children are going to be taken away because they think that they like compromise their capacity to raise the children by themselves.
Yeah, I think that's like a bit of a cultural difference as well. It's a different. If I'm speaking to people in the UK, it's not like, for example, I was in a total mess, when I first had my son, and my biggest fear that he was going to get taken off me. That was my ultimate biggest fear. So I didn't confess what I was doing. That's why I started using the drugs because I thought, okay, I can cope with life if I'm high. And so I could parent, my son was safe, but, and it was, but the reality is that they wouldn't have taken my child off me in the UK. What they might have done is to say, look, maybe you need some help. We're going to help you along with your child. But in other countries, I'm not sure what the situation is. And maybe, maybe that is the case, that there is a big fear around disclosing it to medical professionals, because it might, like you say, it might be a concern about getting work. It might be a concern about what the community around you sees you as. But I think, we don't, unless you've got kind of, there's the medical kind of diagnosis of mental health. You're going to need support for that. You're going to need medication for that. But then there's the other part of mental health, which is about that maintenance of, where you feel that depression and anxiety about life and the situation. And sometimes our mental health is affected because of a situation, rather than it's going to be like this forever. It's because of a certain situation. I don't know if that makes sense, that there's coping things that we can do for ourselves without kind of disclosing to too many people, and there are, like I say, there are services online and telephone lines that you could speak to. But it's really difficult for me to answer that question, because I'm in the UK and I don't really know the culture of any other country. So I'm not best placed, I don't think, to answer that question accurately.
That's right. That's right. But you just mentioned that you trusted the wrong people. Does that mean that probably they are not kind or something?
It was gossips, I thought that people were my friends, but they weren't. They just wanted to gossip about me. And I was seen as, because when I finally put down the drink and drugs and I found God, and I was so excited about life. I just had life again. It was like I was born again, I had a second chance to do life again. And I feel so excited about that.
You mean when you started depending on drugs, you were excited?
When I stopped using drugs.
Right.
Yeah. And it was like I had a new life, because I could do life. And I had a strategy, and I had a second chance. Because I was so excited about that. Some people are haters. They just want to bring you down, Some people are haters. So I think, it's finding the people that you can trust with your information. And it doesn't need to be, it can just be one person that you just need to say, look, I don't need you to comment here. I just need to express how I'm feeling right now. These are my fears. This is my reality. And just the amazing thing about that process, just getting it out, it comes out of dark place, because it's hidden, it's a secret. And once it's not a secret, there's some freedom there. And it sounds so simple. And, I don't know, people watching this, I don't know what situations life is throwing at them. They could be absolutely horrendous, but I do think that breaking the silence of it means you're not trapped. It's not a secret. It's not trapped inside your body, and you've got one other person at least to share that with. But like I say, it's just making sure it's the right person.
So I think we need to practice kindness, but how do we practice kindness towards one another and really prevent suicide and every other things from happening?
I think sometimes there's a problem as well, is especially if you're mixed up in drink and drugs, because that can mean that you've caused a lot of destruction with your relationships. So people start to not trust you, and you become unreliable. And certainly when I was in my worst position, I was unreliable. I was not trustworthy. I would manipulate a situation. I would lie to you to get my outcome. And I think, when drink and drugs can do that, and so, I'm saying that find a person to speak to, but sometimes you might have cut all your bridges off. You might have burnt all your bridges. And so that's where for me, the 12-step groups, which run all around the world, they run all around the world, where they're a group of other addicts, that are saying, we're the same as you, where you can find a place of safety and refuge. If drink and drugs isn't your problem, there are other mental health kind of services. But once again, I'm talking about the UK. You reminded me when you were talking then about the word acceptance. And there's a beautiful poem, a prayer called the Serenity Prayer. And it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that is just my daily mantra, you know, in my life. What can I change? What are the things that are in my control that I can change? And if I am brave enough and I can make those changes, but then what are the things that I can't change? I can't change how you respond to me, can I? I can't change what my bank, you know, what things, some things that are going to happen to me in the day. But what I can do is accept them, and it's how I respond to them things. You know, if somebody annoys me, I can choose to like accept that, or I can choose to say, actually, I don't like the way that you've just talked to me. So I've got a little bit of power then, because I'm saying, actually, that's not how I want to be treated. When your mental health and what the problem with mental health is, your self-esteem is so low, you feel like you haven't got a voice anymore. And that's where the struggles are. But internally, you can be kind of trying to accept and change things you can change. And asking, for me, I ask God daily, you know, if you believe in God, even you don't believe in God, just ask, you know, ask the universe, ask God, you know what, help me, you know, just a cry out to, for me, it's God, you know, and he answers me, you know, I know that to be the case, even when, you know, it doesn't mean that all the bad stuff gets taken away at all. It just gives me coping mechanisms to deal with it. What God did for me is he guided me through that process, and he gave me the skills to be able to manage it. God didn't eliminate all that pain. What he did was give us the ability to cope with it on a daily basis. And I think, you know, sometimes we want to be over there when we're here, and sometimes we need to remain where we are. And I think that nothing is ever wasted, you know, as long as we keep learning from it. And I don't think anything's wasted. You know, I've got the job that I do. I work with a lot of people with mental health conditions.
I wanted to ask that job you're doing, because it's amazing. Now yeah, from that mess now to a great message. Really, yeah.
I remember once standing with my friend when I was in really, really bad condition, really bad. You know, I wanted to die. I didn't want to live. And I said to her, I looked with my eyes were just, they weren't glowing. I was lifeless. And I said, I just don't know if I can hang on anymore. And she looked at me as only a dear friend can. And she said, you hang on, because all of this will be worth it. It makes me emotional thinking about that, because today I'm able to work with other people that have mental health conditions, and their mental health isn't at its strongest. And the work we do is we provide volunteering opportunities for people. So what we're doing is people come through our doors and we give them the tools to be able to get involved in their community. We help them to learn about resilience, about how much do I tell people about my mental health. And then we get them involved in volunteering opportunities. And it's just, you know, when I meet these people, they come in and they hardly can look at me. They're shaking, they're sweating. It's just horrendous, you know, but the bravery, because they know they want something different. They want life to be different. And they sit in front of me and I say, you know, this is what I can do. This is what I need you to do. I need you to press in. I need you to press forward. Sorry, my eyes really watering. I need you to press forward, and I need you to just keep saying, yes, I'll give it a go. Yes, I'll give it a go. And so the outcome of that is that they get involved in the volunteering opportunities, and you see a different person within 2 or 3 months. You see a different person. You see somebody with self-confidence, self-esteem. You see them with friends. You just see them transformed, because, and like I said at the very beginning, it's about getting myself out of my own mind. It's about doing something for another person. And that really helps.
Once they're included in those volunteering activities, they feel included, they feel responsible citizens, they feel they can make a difference in their lives and other people's lives. They feel they can add value to the community. So I think that inclusion is very, very important.
If you're in a good place in life, I think it's about what can we do for other people as well. Today I find it like such a privilege when I work with other people, knowing that I heard a nice phrase, you can only keep what you have by giving it away. And I love that. I love the fact that I get to keep the peace that I found. I get to keep the joy that I found by giving that joy. Jesus was all about that, wasn't he? He was always about giving it away. Give away the gift, give it away. And because there's plenty more of it. The more you give, the more you definitely happened in my life. And I see that when other people do it. It's just beautiful to see that happen.
And that's really that's what I was asking, how can we practice kindness? And I think that the best way to practice kindness every day by doing something little for someone. Yeah, even not judging others. I think that sense of kindness, and that's what because like I mentioned, mental illness can happen to anyone. No one is immune. It's just like you can have any other sickness. But then how do we treat each other? How do we treat those who happen to have it? And it really matters. And how, yeah.
Treating others like you want to be treated. It's, giving a smile to somebody, even though today we've got these on, you can still wave, you can still say, hi, how are you? And I think something lovely has come out of coronavirus, the pandemic, is that people are desperate to connect with each other now. People are desperate, and I think we've been sat with ourselves and we've looked at our lives and probably felt a bit of dissatisfaction from it and said, oh, actually, I don't really like that about myself, or, I want to be involved in life. And I think people do want to connect to people more these days. I'm seeing that. Obviously, there'll be people that don't and are quite happy that, to stay in their house and isolate. But just the way that if you've got something to give another person, give it. Give it. Keep it simple, because it helps your mental health as well. But it's such a complex discussion. I'm not a professional, as in medically professional. My experience is my lived experience and the work that I get to do. I'm not a counsellor. I just have bumped into a lot of people who have struggled processing how to do life, and their mental health has suffered because of that. But I also, I've seen so many successes where people have just done it despite how they feel. A beautiful lady came in a few weeks ago and she started doing one of the volunteering opportunities, and she was so nervous she could hardly speak because she was so nervous and so scared, but she got on with it anyway. And all these weeks on, she's loving it. She's just loving it, and she's involved. She feels happy, and that's what it's about for me. With my work, that's what it's about. But I get it's not easy. Life is hard, and it's just about finding something, and to help you get through each day. And for me, that is God, definitely God, number one, then the 12-step fellowship, and then connecting to other people and being honest about who I am and what I think. And I don't find that easy. I don't find it easy.
When we have no meaningful life, when we self-talk negatively, I think also when we feel not included and not part of the community, not doing anything productive, I think can put us more down or even increase our mental illness or cause it. So I think having those people really included is a great thing to do. But again, how do we help our friends? What do you think, based on your experience, what would have someone done better for you to maybe recover earlier than the time it took?
I think it comes the individual. You have to be at your point where you're ready to make some changes. And I think people can show their love to you. But ultimately, it comes down to you and your decision. You know, nobody can persuade you to make changes in your life, because you're the one that needs to make the changes. And I think that's why it's so difficult, is because you observe somebody else's life and you think, surely that's enough. Surely they want to change their life. It's a mess. Surely they want to do something different. You know, and we can judge them for that. But ultimately, a person, change is only ever as good as the kind of desire in you, isn't it? You know, I can, if I don't desire to change, I'm not going to change. But if I desire to change, then I can change. And God can help you to do that. People around you can help you do that. So, but that doesn't mean that you don't keep loving on people. You know, that doesn't mean you give up on people. I'll leave with this story, really. 6 years ago, when I came into the fellowship, I came in hand with a friend of mine. And, you know, I continued my journey. But she wasn't convinced. She wasn't convinced her life needed help. And she didn't have that desire. I had that desire, because I knew I didn't want to live like I was living. And she didn't. But what I would do is I would text her. I would send her little voice messages if I saw something that made me think about her. I would call her. She didn't answer, but I'd call her anyway. You know, I loved her, you know, and I never gave up on her. And just yesterday, she called me because she's ready. And she knew that I was a place of safety for her. She knew that she would call me and I wouldn't judge her. And I don't say that to be big-headed. I say that as advice to us all, you know, let's not give up on each other. Even though sometimes it's hard, let's not give up on the people that we know are in our lives. There's people that are in our lives that aren't us, our stuff. But there's people that we know are the people that kind of catch in our hearts, you know, that you get given the ability and the grace to be able to love on them, and keeping on loving on them and showing that you love them, you know, doing nice stuff for them, calling them, saying, do you want to go for a walk? Do you need anything? How are you financially? If you're financial wealthy, do you need any food? Do you need, you know, it's those little things. And I think,
Actually, thank you so much for sharing.
thank you. I hope it's all been helpful. And I don't know, it's just my story. I've only got one story in life.
And it is a success story because it went down, now up, and actually you're giving out to others. You're healing other people who are not well. And that's a beautiful thing.
This message helps somebody else. And
really
just don't give up. Just don't give up.
Just don't give up.
Yeah.
Just don't give up. Because like you mentioned, mental health can be all ranges of, range of things that we can't even define. Like I mentioned, someone taking a risk for her life, knowing that I might not come back. Just let me go. Let me do this. Let me do this. So I think somehow we are not okay with our mental health. But if you just decide to follow those thoughts and end up maybe ending your life, so it's not a good thing. But again, thinking differently, it takes a process, takes time, but it's a good thing to do. So don't give up, Claire says. So thank you so much. So I hope to see you next time.
Yes. Take care.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.